Greetings, everyone. This is Gleekon here again, and we are continuing our journey in Chapter 2, where we left off. The Titans showed up on Azeroth as well, following the footsteps of the old gods. They realized, oh no, things are going to crap here, and they started kind of creating their own things. The Keepers and some of the Titan-forged races to be their representatives and to fight against these corrupted elementals, and maybe the Nathrazim are involved, and the minions of the old gods, the Void Lords, things like that, these things that have been attempting to corrupt the Titan. So here we go, Wrath of the Titan Forged. Led by the Keepers, the Titan Forged slammed into the Black Empire's northernmost holdings. And just a note, we're going to have a map in the next episode of what the Black Empire looked like. The resilience and strength of the Pantheon's armies made them an unstoppable force. They unleashed the wrath of gods upon their enemies, scouring legions of Inraki and Aqir and sundering their temples. The arrival of the Titan Forged caught the old gods completely off guard. They reeled in response to these stone and metal-skinned invaders, but they were determined not to lose control over Azeroth. To reassert their dominance, the old gods called upon their greatest lieutenants, the Elemental Lords. The enraged elemental lords and their minions beset the Titan Forged on all sides. Ever wary of fighting a unified elemental army, the Keepers resolved to divide and conquer their enemies. Thus, they split their own forces and dispatched each group of Titan Forged to make war on a specific elemental lord. Tyr and Odin volunteered to confront the most destructive elemental lieutenant, Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Their battle raged for weeks, engulfing the land in fire and magma, yet the Keepers' resilient metal forms kept them safe from Ragnaros' fiery onslaughts. Through sheer strength and force of will, Tyr and Odin pushed Ragnaros back into his volcanic lair in the east. In a land of boiling acid seas and skies choked with ash, the two Keepers defeated the Fire Lord. Meanwhile, Arcadis and Freya unleashed their powers upon Therazane, the Stone Mother. To protect herself and her minions, the elemental ruler retreated into the towering stone spire that she called home. Deep home, maybe? Arcadis used his dominion over the earth to weaken the citadel's foundations and shatter the craggy giants who guarded it. Freya then made colossal roots sprout from the ground to entangle the fortress. They wormed through stone and crystal, buckled the citadel's walls, and brought them down on Therazane's head. Ra, Thorim, and Hodir waged war with Aqir the Wind Lord. Using their mastery over the skies and storms, they forced the Elemental Lord back to his lair among the highest peaks of Azeroth. Lightning set the heavens aflame as Aqir struggled to hold off his foes. In the end, the three Keepers turned the Elemental Lord's own power against him, defeating Aqir atop his lofty domain. Neptulon the Tidehunter and his minions rushed to aid the other embattled elemental lords, but they were waylaid by Loken and Mimiron. The two Keepers used their wits to harry and outmaneuver Neptulon's forces at every turn. Ultimately, Loken unleashed his arcane powers to freeze and shatter the water elemental's forms, while Mimiron crafted enchanted bonds to imprison Neptulon himself. Although the elemental lords had been defeated, the Keepers knew that they could not utterly destroy the beings. The spirits of the elementals were bound to Azeroth itself. If they were killed, their corporeal forms would simply manifest again in time. Ra soon found a solution. He set out to imprison the elementals, much as the great Sargeras had done to demons. Ra first called on the aid of the gifted Titan-forged sorceress Helya. They worked in concert to craft 4 interlinked domains within a pocket dimension known as the Elemental Plane. Ra and Helya then banished the Elemental Lords and nearly all of their servants to this enchanted prison realm. Ragnaros and the Fire Elementals were exiled to a smoldering corner of the Elemental Plane known as the Firelands. Therazane and the Earth Elementals were locked within the crystalline caverns of Deepholm. Aqir and the Air Elementals were imprisoned among the cloudy spires of the Skywall. Lastly, Neptulon and the Water Elementals were sucked into the fathomless deeps of the Abyssal Maw. Only a few elementals would remain on the surface of Azeroth. With their leaders gone, these beings scattered and abandoned the war. Having contained the elementals, the Keepers turned their attention to the Black Empire's Aqiri legions. Many of the insectoids dwelled in vast catacombs that snaked beneath the surface of the devastated world. Arcadus bent the stones and soil to his will, collapsing the aqir burrows and driving the creatures above ground. Upon emerging from their lairs, the insectoids found themselves surrounded by the Titan Forged. The battles between the Titan Forged and the aqir proved unexpectedly vicious. In time, the Keepers destroyed most of the aqiri race. Small pockets of the insectoids, those that had tunneled deep underground, escaped the Keeper's wrath, yet they were too weakened to mount a counterattack. And here we have a picture of the Titan Forged battling the Elemental Lords. Kind of cool. You see Ragnaros, all Neptulon back there, Alakir up in the sky above. I don't see Therazane, but maybe that's just kind of cut off or off to the side. You have all these Titan Forge where they really just look like cool paladins or whatever. They don't look like golems. They just look like men. Metal men. Pretty cool. We also see direct tie into what Cataclysm was when that happened. Obviously, the Vajir and the Mount Hyjal and Deepholm and Uldum all tied into where those four elements broke through. I don't know much if that's like why that is such a thing, but obviously the elemental plane was ripped open and these domains came out in Cataclysm, so that was a big part of it. Like I sort of just superficially know what went down in Cataclysm, but I didn't play. I played only a little bit during that expansion, so interested to see how that ties into everything. Pretty neat. We also see Silithus and kind of why they're just condensed to one zone and how they'll kind of pop back up later on at the end of the first classic. All right, so the next chapter should take us to the second half of the Forces of Good defeating the Black Empire, and I will see you guys then. Thank you for listening. I had a good time.